Welcome back. 9:47. Little bit of change on this 9th day of March. Samantha Doolin is the museum coordinator up in Glen Carbon. And Samantha, thank you so much for taking some time out, the museum coordinator of the Glen Carbon Heritage Museum, correct?
Yes. You're very welcome. It's nice to talk to you again.
I enjoy talking with you guys, and I'm really excited because we were talking just the other day about the Goshen Settlement presentation, and it's something that really intrigued me. This presentation is tonight, and if you could, preview a little bit about what we could be learning about.
Yeah, so I'll be at the Glen Carbon Library tonight at 6. I'm talking about the Goshen Settlement, the Goshen Road, the Goshen Township, the land of Goshen, why it's called Goshen Coffee. So we're just going to cover all about that. And it's really Glen Carbon before Glen Carbon. So there were people here as early as, 1799. We're going to talk about why Glen Carbon has such a prime location. I'm going to really set things in order too. So you're going to see Glen Carbon and the Goshen Settlement in a national timeline. So you'll see what's going on in the country at the time. And, we're going to learn about the American bottom and the floodplains and the bluffs and all different kinds of things. So
this is really cool. And I hate to say this, but because, Samantha, not a lot of people like to have a host say they don't know much about something, but this is something I really, I don't. And it's something I think we should all know a little bit more about because we're so big on history in Alton here, but Glen Carbon has a vast history in itself. Could you kind of preview, just really quick, not to cut you off, but could you preview a little bit about just the early start of that Goshen settlement?
Yeah, well, so there had already been people here. Obviously, the Native Americans were all through this area in the American Bottom. And St. Clair County, before it was founded as St. Clair County, had settlers as early as 1699. So the French had been down south. I'm sure there's a rich and extensive history up in Alton as well. But this middle area was sort of empty grasslands and floodplain and really untouched wilderness. And there was a gentleman named David Badgley who came up from Monroe County, which is like Waterloo, Illinois. And he was a Baptist reverend, and he did not really agree with the French lifestyle. So he went further north than the French settlement and saw all this untouched wilderness and deemed it the land of Goshen, which kind of makes sense. That's an Egyptian reference in the Bible. And looking out at the bluffs and the floodplain and the Mississippi River and seeing Cahokia's mounds, it kind of makes sense, this Egyptian reference. But and I'm sure as a reverend who had never actually been to Egypt, he had lots of biblical references on the brain. So, but really the main focus of this, the settlement came in, Samuel Judy settled here after 1800, 1801, and people really started to gather in this area. And as early as 1805, there was a Methodist congregation here in Glen Carbon, or the Goshen Settlement. And Glen Carbon's Main Street right now is a section of that Goshen Road.
Is it really?
So it is, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so... sorry. I keep cutting you off. Keep going.
No,
My fault.
you're fine. It went, so it leads straight out to where Sam Judy's homestead was, and he was kind of in the center of the Goshen Settlement. So
wow. And now I got to ask, because I did find a little bit of information on the Goshen Settlement, and actually it's a really fascinating write-up on it's called The Lost Towns of Illinois, and this one about the Goshen Settlement. So Goshen Township was actually established after the county was created?
Yes.
Wow.
So the county was created in 1812, and Sam Judy was actually elected to serve on the first legislature for the new Illinois territory in Kaskaskia, Illinois, and Madison County was formalized at the same time with Goshen Township all in that same 1812 year. Now, Illinois wasn't a state until 1818, but by, Goshen Township was so large that by 1830 it had been broken up into smaller townships. And in 1820, it still had parts of like Sangamon County and Macoupin County in that Goshen Township area. So it was really huge.
Well, and now, I mean, I can't believe this. I'm just looking through. So this is how is this accurate? Just because I like to ask the expert. Into 5 smaller townships, it was divided: Edwardsville, Silver Creek, Big Prairie, 6 Mile Prairie, and Wood River.
Yes.
Wow. Wow, that's a big dude of a township.
Yes. So absolutely.
I got to ask you, do you know why is there an exact reason on why the Goshen Settlement was renamed? I know that you're going to cover this in your presentation more in depth, but was there just a brief, kind of teaser of why the settlement was renamed to the village of Glen Carbon?
Well, Glen Carbon was officially established as a village and its own city in 1892 as a mining company town for the Madison Coal Corporation. So it was named, originally they wanted to name it Carbon Glen, but one of the trustees, or it might have been the first mayor, the village president, his daughter thought that sounded ridiculous and we should change it to Glen Carbon, which means Valley of Coal. And Glen Carbon is a natural valley, and that's sort of what helped create the the Goshen Township, as well as the Goshen Road, which headed south to Old Shawneetown for the salt mines there.
Wow.
So that valley makes for the easiest pathway out of the bluffs and toward the river.
That is so cool. And thank you to the mayor's daughter who said that sounded ridiculous. I like I like the ring to Glen Carbon a little bit better than Carbon Glen.
I agree.
So did rail travel play any integral part in the Goshen Settlement? Is this kind of right during that Industrial Revolution?
Well, the settlement was already here, and even when Glen Carbon was founded, there were farmers in the area and other settlers that were not necessarily affiliated with the company town, but because the coal company came in, they picked Glen Carbon or established Glen Carbon because of the coal preserves that were here in the soil, as with most of southern Illinois, but also because of that natural valley. The railroads, the Illinois Central and the Cloverleaf, it was the smoothest natural grade to get out of those bluffs. So it made sense for the rail lines to come through here. And with the coal mine, you can just load it in the rail line and ship it out. So it was sort of the confluence of many different things that made this an ideal location.
That's fantastic. And Samantha, I really am just so fascinated by this. I think that you're a wealth of knowledge, and I'm very impressed. I don't know if you have notes in front of you. We don't have you on the Zoom. We're just talking to you on the phone. But everything that is in this paper, and I promise you guys, I'm not this smart. I really just got lucky and found a really cool write-up. You knew everything. That is impressive, and we get all that knowledge tonight at 6 p.m.
Well, we do, and I'm used to talking about Glen Carbon. I hadn't had as much experience talking about the Goshen Settlement, but it was really interesting learning all this and getting ready to do this. And I chose this topic because I didn't know as much about it as I do 1892 on Glen Carbon. And I think it's interesting to pick up new things and learn more. And I wanted to share that. So,
well, thank you so much for doing so, because this is really, really cool. And if you could, before I let you go, can you overview the presentation tonight, where it's going to be at, where we can stay up to date on even more presentations you guys give, because this is fantastic.
Yeah, so we'll be at the Glen Carbon Library tonight at 6 p.m. It should be about a 30-minute presentation, and I'll stick around and talk to people afterwards. But I also I'm glad you brought that up, because the Glen Carbon Heritage Museum has a Facebook page for the first time ever. Great. So now we're going to be putting our events on Facebook. We're going to be sharing photo ID projects and historic photographs, and we're going to talk about all the things that we're doing. And so it's at facebook.com/ GC Heritage Museum. You can find us there, follow us. We have lots of upcoming things this year. It's a big year, and I know we're going to come back and talk to you some more about things this summer. So
Absolutely. And I really enjoy and appreciate your time. And by the way, just so I can feel better about this, Samantha, CJ may or may not have had a little technical difficulties this morning, and we should have been talking at 8:30. But the fact that you really you were patient with me, I really appreciate it, Samantha.
it's no problem. I'm happy to do it, and I love to talk with you more about other things, including the Goshen, settlement or township if you wanted to. So
Absolutely, we'll definitely have to have you back on and talk some more history because you are a great presenter, and we get all of that knowledge tonight at the Heritage Museum up in Glen Carbon. Samantha Doolin, thank you for your time.
thank you. Have a good one.
You too. At 9:57 on this 9th day of March, we'll take a quick break, come back with top of the hour news and local musician Brian Maloney next on our daily show.